I lost my son, and the world lost its color. The day started with rain. Not the loud, thunderous kind, but the soft, mournful one that taps the window gently, like a whisper from heaven. It was almost like God was crying with me. As I stared at the coffin being lowered into the red earth, something inside me broke, something that could never be repaired. My son, my only child, my Chuka, was gone. Gone, just like that. I remember the first time I held him in my arms. His tiny fingers curling around mine, his cries, the way he always found my face even before he could talk. My whole life had revolved around him. I had been both mother and father to him after his father passed, carrying the weight of the world just so he could rise above our humble beginning. I sold bread. I washed clothes for neighbors. I prayed and fasted, sowed seeds in church, and poured my entire life into him. He was my reward. My proof that suffering can still produce something beautiful. And now he was gone. Beside me, my daughter-in-law Amara dabbed her eyes with a white handkerchief. She looked devastated. Her sobs were soft, yet controlled. She had always been reserved, respectful, but lately, something in her spirit fell off. I tried to ignore it. Grief affects everyone differently, I told myself. Maybe that's why she hadn't let me ride in the family car. Maybe that's why she didn't ask me to speak at the service. Still, as I stood there, clutching the picture of my son, I felt something shift. Something in the way she avoided my eyes. Something in the way she quickly walked past me after the burial, her heels clicking like the sound of a door closing. They said time heals everything. But how do you heal from the loss of the one person who gave your life meaning? Chuka was my heartbeat, my reason for waking up every morning. Now, I sat alone in the room we used to share stories, and his trophies still neatly arranged, his clothes still hanging, untouched. But Amara didn't come in to sit with me. She didn't say, "Mama, let me fix you something to eat." She didn't even ask if I was okay. Instead, I overheard her whispering to her friend on the phone later that night, "She's still hero." I thought by now she would have packed her things. My heart stopped. So it begins. The music had died. And so had the love in this house. I was not a guest. I was his mother. But in her eyes, I had become an inconvenience. The next morning, I woke up early. Habit, I suppose. For years, I always rose before Chuka. Even as a grown man, he liked the smell of fried plantain and peppered eggs waiting in the kitchen. He would come down, hug me from behind, and say, "Mama, you're spoiling me, oh." I would laugh and tell him, if I don't spoil you, who will? But this morning, there was no breakfast to make. No footsteps on the stairs. Just silence. And a closed kitchen door. I turned the handle. Locked. I frowned. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Amara locked it for safety, maybe. But why did it feel like she had locked me out, not just the kitchen? I sat in the parlor, alone, watching the clock tick. 8 a.m. passed. Then 9 o'clock. My stomach growled, but I said nothing. I was in my son's house. I had no need to beg for food. When she finally came downstairs, dressed in a fine wrapper and smelling of coconut body cream, she barely looked at me. "Good morning, Amara," I said softly. "Morning," she replied flatly, before picking her car keys. "No food?" I asked, careful not to sound demanding. She turned slightly. "I'm running late. You can warm something if you like." Then, she left. I sat there in shock. Warm what, Amara? The food you locked away? Or the air that now fills this house where love used to live? Later that day, a knock came at the gate. I shuffled to open it, only to find a man in a suit holding a brown envelope. "Good afternoon, Ma. Are you Madame Amara's tenant?" he asked. "Tenant." I almost choked. Sorry, Ma. I meant resident. I was asked to deliver this letter to you. I took the envelope with trembling hands and shut the gate. Sitting down, I opened it and read the words that made my chest ache. This is a formal notice to vacate the premises within 7 days. Vacate? 7 days? I had just buried my son. I hadn't even cried properly. I hadn't even removed the black wrapper of mourning. And here was a letter, cold, official, merciless, telling me I had worn out my welcome. My hands shook. My son was barely in the ground. I felt the tears gather, but I refused to let them fall. Not in that parlor. Not in that moment. I folded the letter neatly and placed it in my handbag. Let her think I was old and powerless. Let her think I had no one and nowhere to go. But what she didn't know was that I had hidden something she wasn't expecting. Something that would turn this house and her plans upside down. They say time heals, but sometimes it exposes. It uncovers. It avenges. That evening, I didn't eat. I couldn't. The taste of betrayal lingered stronger than any meal. I watched Amara return from her day like everything was normal. Her heels clicked arrogantly on the tiles. She even picked a call in front of me, laughing freely. Laughing while I was still mourning her husband, my son. She didn't greet me this time. I wasn't surprised. She went straight into her room, and moments later, I heard music. Loud, joyful, like a woman free from something heavy, free from someone. My son's death had freed her, but my presence had become a burden. I sat outside under the mango tree, the air cool, my heart colder. I remembered when Chuka first introduced her to me. She was polite, respectful, careful with her words. "Mama, I'll take care of him, I promise," she had said, kneeling before me. My heart had melted. She reminded me of my younger self, smart, beautiful, determined. But that was years ago, back when Liz wore lace wigs and smiled respectfully. Now, all I saw was a stranger walking around in my daughter-in-law's skin. A week before Chuka's death, he had called me. His voice was low, heavy. "Mama, if anything ever happens to me, don't trust anyone. Check the box in my wardrobe, the red one. The truth is inside." At the time, I brushed it off. I thought he was being dramatic. Now I understood. I waited till 1 a.m. when I was sure she had drifted off to her world of sleep, dreams, and secrets. Quietly, I entered his room. Nothing had changed. His scent was still there, tucked into the pillows. I opened his wardrobe. Shoes, shirts, jackets. Then at the back, covered with an old denim jacket, I found it, the red box. Locked, but I had raised that boy. I knew his favorite numbers. His birthday, 1108. The lock clicked open. Inside was a stack of documents neatly packed, labeled land papers, a house deed, shares certificates, insurance, and a handwritten letter with my name on it. "Mama, if you're reading this, it means I am gone. I put everything in your name. Amara changed after we married. I feared she was after what I had. You gave me life. What I own belongs to you now. Protect it. Protect yourself." Tears flowed freely this time. He had known. He had prepared. He had left me something stronger than sympathy, power. And I would use it. Not with shouting. Not with fights. But with silence. And papers. Let her continue to treat me like trash. Let her think the house was hers. Let her enjoy her freedom, her music, her visitors, her plans. Because soon, very soon, she would find out that everything she thought she controlled belonged to me. The invitation came 2 weeks after the funeral. A simple message on my phone from Barrister Okoye. Madam Grace, the will is ready for reading. Can you and Amara come to my office Friday by 11 a.m.? I replied with a calm yes, sir, but inside me, my spirit was spinning. Not with fear, no. With anticipation. Chuka had left something, and I was finally about to see the full picture. I didn't tell Amara about the lawyer's message immediately. I left her to continue parading around the house like the queen she thought she was. Throwing out my food from the fridge, laughing loudly on calls, and giving me side eyes like I was a burden she couldn't wait to dump. She would soon understand. That Friday, I knocked gently on her door in the morning. We have a meeting at the lawyer's office by 11. She barely looked up. You mean my husband's lawyer? Yeah, I was going to go anyway. I smiled slightly. Let's not be late. At the law office, Barrister Okoye welcomed us in. He was a composed man. One of those few professionals left who still respected both tradition and truth. He handed us bottled water. Amara didn't touch hers. She was too busy adjusting her wig and fixing her voice to sound soft and sorrowful. Barrister, I'm still so heartbroken, she started, blinking slowly. I just want closure. I almost laughed out loud. He nodded politely and pulled out the envelope marked, Last Will and Testament of Mr. Chuka Nady. To my beloved mother, Mrs. Grace Nady. I leave my house in Lekki, as well as my land in Enugu, my stocks, savings, and all business interests under my name. The lawyer paused, looked up. Amara didn't breathe. To my wife, Amara, I leave my car and the wedding photo album. You could hear a pin drop. Even the wall clock seemed to stop ticking for a second. Amara blinked. Twice. What are you talking about? She stammered. Barrister Okoye continued as if she hadn't spoken. I married Amara in love. But in the last years of my life, I lived in doubt, in fear. I lost trust. I found peace only with my mother. This is my truth, and I leave it behind boldly. Is this a joke? Amara said, voice now trembling. You can't be serious. I said nothing. I didn't need to. Because when your enemy is defeated by truth, silence is the loudest victory. She turned to me, eyes wet not with grief, but with panic. Did you know about this? You planned this with him, didn't you? I finally spoke. No. But I raised him to think ahead. I warned you once. Don't mistake silence for weakness. She stood up, walked out. No goodbye. No eye contact. Just shame. Walking in heels. Barrister Okoye smiled faintly. He trusted you, Ma. Everything he had, he handed to you, quietly. I took a deep breath and looked out the window. The house she tried to push me out of, the life she thought she could control, it all belonged to me now. And I wasn't going to throw her out. Not yet. Because some lessons are better taught slowly. The house was quiet again. Not the kind of quiet you get when people go out for work or errands. No, this was the silence that comes when a battle has ended and only the wounded remain. Amara didn't leave the house after the will reading. She packed a small bag, yes, and moved out of the master bedroom, but she didn't go far. She now stayed in the guest room downstairs, as if waiting for me to throw her out myself. I didn't. I woke up early every morning, cooked my tea, swept the compound, and went about my life like nothing had changed. But everything had. She avoided me. She avoided eye contact. Her friends stopped visiting. The cars stopped honking in front of the house with loud "Baby, you day come out." No more perfume trail. No more expensive deliveries. All the energy she used to chase clout was now used to hide shame. Then one morning, she knocked on my door. A soft knock. Not the kind of knock that demands attention, but the kind that whispers, I don't know what else to do. I opened. She stood there, barefoot with swollen eyes. "Mama, please," she said, her voice breaking. "I know I messed up." I said nothing. I thought. I thought I could control everything. I didn't know Chuka had already seen through me. I didn't know she broke down, sobbing. Then she dropped to her knees, right there on the cold tiles outside my bedroom. "Mama, forgive me. Please. I'm sorry for everything. I shouldn't have treated you the way I did." I looked at her, not with anger, but with the eyes of someone who had seen life, lost a son, and gained a deeper kind of strength. "You thought this house was your inheritance," I said slowly. "But peace is the real inheritance, and it doesn't come to the greedy." She sobbed harder. I walked past her, went to the kitchen, boiled water, and brought her a cup of tea. She looked up in shock. "Why are you being kind to me?" she whispered. I sat beside her and sighed. "Because I'm not you." That day, Amara started healing, not because I punished her, but because I didn't. And that was the lesson she would carry for the rest of her life.